Welcome back to the Rebel's Edge. Today we're going to break down day two of the big shutdown and how it's driving volatility higher. Well, maybe not so much. We've got that, stocks, and a little sports with the one and only Marc LoPresti on today's Rebel's Edge. Bang! Hey, everybody. That right there is not Pete Najarian. And if he took off his hat, you'd know for sure because there's too much damn hair there. Pete is out on the West Coast. He's out there for Thursday night football. So Marc LoPresti, the CEO of Market Rebellion, who you probably recognize from Fox and, of course, this program a number of times, as well as let's see, he does the opener on Newsmax on Mondays at 7 a.m. and again at 9. And then he does News Nation. And, basically, if there's a news broadcast that needs some insight any time of the day or night, that's your guy.
Yeah, if they can't get anybody else to do it, I'm sort of still second string, but we're certainly enjoying the love, John. Good to be back with you on the edge.
Well, it's great to have you. I would be remiss if I didn't also say that Scott Jennings and the crew over at CNN love having Marc on there too.
Yeah, I came this
classics.
I came this close to joining it with the Abby Phillips producer. Told me a couple times yesterday, you're on deck. And I said, listen, I promise I will bring the fireworks and the thunder. But alas, it was not to be. But I'm sure I'll be back in that cage match sooner than later.
Oh, yeah. Talk about the Christians being led to the lions. I mean, there are basically four radical leftists, Abby, and then Marc or Scott Jennings. And every once in a while, Marc gets to be on with Scott.
Yeah.
So that's always my favorite anyway, Marc.
We have a good time.
Let's jump into macro. I'm going to say, Marc, that the ADP report, that was an unexpected loss of 32,000 jobs. Far below forecast. We expected a positive. So this perhaps further enforces the idea that we're going to see more cuts this year, Marc, no matter what Austin Goolsbee says. What do you have for macro?
Yeah, I mean, that's for sure, John. And that story plays in, of course, to the government shutdown. And as I said on my radio show this morning with Janet Alvarez, Sirius XM Channel 132, the business briefing, right. I said, don't call it a shutdown. Why? S&P hitting new highs against this backdrop. This thing's going to extend. We have the Jewish holiday today. We're not going to get a deal before the end of the week. It's going to next week. The market doesn't care. The market's actually celebrating it to a certain extent. Why? How in God's name, if we wind up losing another 100,000 government jobs as Trump is threatening, how in God's name does Jay Powell and the Fed governors do anything but deliver us two more 25 basis point hikes between now and the end of the year? It continues to be that bizarro world, bad news, good news scenario. And you mentioned my macro, or leading into fantastic futures, John, the VIX up only 3% on day two of a government shutdown. Mm-hmm. What the heck? It goes against what a lot of people would assume would be the market's reaction. But hey, if you're watching this show, we've been saying it on this show and every other broadcast, the market is not going to sell off on this shutdown BS. And sure enough, we're hitting all-time highs. We're going to end the day in the green on all three major indices is my guess.
I wouldn't bet against you for that, Marc. All right, folks. Well, it's time for a little small cap spotlight. Marc and Pete and I do a lot of work with not just small cap stocks, with publicly traded stocks that are just coming out as far as B round, C round, and so forth, crowdfunding and all the rest. And Marc has yet another example today. So I'm going to pass it over to my business partner, Marc LoPresti, to let you know about what we're talking about today.
Yeah, thank you so much, John. Yes, and today's small cap spotlight, we're going to feature a company that is a real promising up-and-comer in the quantum space. All of the rebels and people that watch this show know we've been super hot and bullish on quantum for a while now. That's actually our next research report, which is going to be published in a couple of weeks, is going to be focused on the quantum sector. Many folks that have listened to us in our various broadcasts and in real life events have done really, really well on some of our best quantum names like D-Wave, Rigatoni, Rigetti, of course, I love to call it Rigatoni. People have experienced explosive gains on names like that. Well, here's one you haven't heard of yet, folks, but you should keep on your radar. It's called Quantum Emotion. This company is focused on using QRNG, quantum random number generation technology, for true quantum-based cybersecurity. And John, really, this is an interesting one. Most folks don't know this. But when you create a password for your iPhone or your Netflix account or your Robinhood account, no matter what password you create, it is not truly random, and for that reason can be hacked. True randomness occurs only in nature and in quantum mechanics. Well, this company takes those theories, those applications from nature, from quantum mechanics, and the randomness of the natural world to create quantum random number generated solutions for cybersecurity and other things. And they recently announced, I believe it was Thursday of last week, the first functioning quantum random number generating hot wallet for crypto. So you can think about the myriad of other applications coming out with this company. Quantum threats, the president has gotten behind this, recognizing that quantum represents an existential threat to U.S. cybersecurity. I expect we're going to see more government involvement, maybe even investment like we've seen in critical minerals. This is a company that's on our radar, folks. As always, we have to tell you, we do have a position in this name. This is a paid endorsement. We are advisors to this company. Do your own due diligence before investing. As always, that's Quantum Motion. Check it out.
Yeah, it is a very cool company. And the fact that that application of that random quantum number generation is just a cool thing to make people a little safer with whatever it might be, their social security information, their bank accounts, and so forth and so on, crypto. All right, well, Marc, let's dive into the first one today. And it was up 20%, then it was up 30. Now it's up almost 50%. So why is this company moving like that? The company's TSHA, and the FDA has granted breakthrough therapy designation to them for a gene therapy with disease-modifying potential. So if you've got an FDA breakthrough therapy designation, that means you're fast-tracked, Marc. Yeah. That's why we're seeing such a big move. And by the way, this isn't the only drug that they're really having some good success with. So kind of a twofer today. They've got two reasons that this stock is moving so big, and it's a cheap, in a relative way anyway, a cheap stock. It's one of these that's been around and now getting a big 47 or 48% pop today.
Yeah, and look, this is one that's also an under the radar AI story, right? So one of the most immediate applications from a sector perspective of AI, in addition to our obsession with ChatGPT and Grok and talking to our Alexa and all of that, is biotech and pharma. Why? Because this is an industry that's harnessed the power of artificial intelligence to accelerate research towards bringing clinical stage therapies and drugs along the path in a much, much faster way than was traditionally possible without AI. This is a name, John, that was not previously on my radar. They are this AAV9 gene therapies for the treatment of Rett syndrome. So obviously good news with that acceleration. It is, however, still clinical stage. So folks, as always, do your homework. These biotech names tend to have a binary outcome, right? Either they get approved and they do really well, or they don't. And well, you know the other side of that coin. So be careful when you invest, but we're going to have this one on our radar now for sure.
Yeah, I mean, from the potential alone, Marc, back in 21, this was a $30 stock. And just recently, of course, it's making this big move that we're talking about today of 50%. But just on the 19th of September, it was $2.80. It's Not doubled that yet, but it's approaching that very quickly. So keep your eye on this one. All right, FICO, Fair Isaac, or FICO, FICO. We all kind of know what they do. They do credit score assessment and all that sort of stuff. Well, they're basically undercutting, Mark, a lot of the, I guess I'll call them competitors like Equifax and TransUnion. They're saying they're going to give lenders like 50% off on regular FICO fees. So who do you think they're going to go with, Mark? Equifax or TransUnion or FICO? And I think the answer is obvious. They're up 28 or more percent right now. And those competitors I just named are down double digits right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is an interesting move. This is something that I certainly didn't see coming. And I will tell you, my only comment on this one is I would not necessarily chase it, especially with a move as dramatic as this. And the reality of it is, John, when you look at the BNPL, the buy now, pay later space, this is a sector that we've covered extensively on this program, whether you're talking about Klarna, whether you're talking about Affirm or any of those players. They don't use traditional credit scores for underwriting somebody's eligibility for a loan. Why? Because there's so much data that is more current, that is more immediate, and that is available from everything else that we do on social media and the internet and with our smart devices that give them a better view of whether or not you should be eligible for a credit facility. I think we're going to see that methodology of underwriting personal consumer loans continue to take over market share from the traditional credit score holy trinity. So I'm not bullish on this one.
Well, it's up about $400, almost $500 since August. So this is, and it's a $1,700 number now, Mark, pushing towards 1,800. So it's one that I haven't traded because, quite frankly, if there's not an option giveaway or unusual option activity, I'm not buying $1,700 stock to try to make a few bucks.
Never a good idea to try to chase these run-ups. Generally speaking, we buy on dips.
Well, how about Stellantis? Now, I am much more of a Stellantis guy than Mark because Mark's much more of a foreign exotic car, Porsches and the like kind of guy. I am a guy that I drive a Jeep Wrangler. I almost bought a Dodge Ram. And those are both brands under Stellantis, by the way, folks, and both brands that jumped dramatically. The only one of their cars Mark might consider is the Alfa Romeo. And I'm guessing it's probably not dependable enough for him, even though it is Italian, Mark. But the numbers that a vehicle sold was up dramatically over the same quarter last year. That's a great thing, given how much rhetoric there'd been about how these auto companies would have a hard time selling because of so much either being made in Canada or Mexico, and they had to negotiate the tariffs and all the rest. Seems like they're doing okay. Shares are up 7%.
Yeah, look, certainly good news. And notwithstanding my bias towards European cars, that's not because I don't want to buy American or I don't want folks to buy American or the American auto industry to do well. I think this is obviously good news. There was a lot of talk about how and whether or not the president's policies to try to drive additional manufacturing and production of cars and that supply chain. That's the other thing. It's not just about building the cars here. You buy an American car, but as it stands now, 60, 70, 80%, depending on the car, of the parts of that car and systems of that car that go into final assembly in the United States happens outside of the United States. That's something that the president wants to change. And I love seeing numbers like this out of Stellantis, because if you are looking at those kind of changes in the supply chain and those kind of dramatic impacts that the administration is trying to have to bring manufacturing back to the U.S., the naysayers, John, often say that's just going to drive up costs. It's going to push costs down to the consumers. The automakers are not going to do as well. Well, maybe that's just not the case.
Maybe. This is one example of it anyway. All right. Let's talk about Netflix, because our mutual friend, Mark, Elon Musk, is all over this one. He didn't like some of the programming that Netflix was putting on, so he called for a boycott of it. Now, how effective has that been? Well, September 30th, Netflix since September 30th is down about $52. That's not that much because we're talking about an $1,100 monster that is up like 35% year to date. But it is having a little bit of an impact because $17 billion in market cap have been taken away in these 3 days. And he keeps threatening, saying he is going to come up with a competitor. So if people boycott this one, he's going to have another place for them to get their streamed content. I don't know that Mr. Musk has ever run a studio before, Mark. And these days, a lot of it is dependent on how much you make for your own movies rather than just buying movies and putting them up. But obviously, Netflix does both, probably bigger and better than anybody. But I'll say this also, the president is saying that if you make your movies overseas, and he counts, I believe, Canada and Mexico as overseas, just to save on the taxes, he's going to tariff the movie. So that's kind of a two-edged sword going after Netflix right now. On the one side, the production costs increasing, and on the other, Mark, Elon Musk saying, conservative people should boycott the company.
Yeah, I mean, so a lot to unpack there, John. And let's start with the president's 100% tariff on foreign-made films. That's one of these, what I would refer to as a framework comment. We don't exactly know what that means. There hasn't been a lot of information disseminated from the White House or the president's emissaries just about how this might work and what would constitute a film made overseas. There is no doubt that other countries, particularly Canada, I mean, I mentioned this actually, I covered this on Wake Up America on Monday, particularly Canada, the Toronto Film Commission has done a really great job of establishing not only incentive programs, but grant programs to entice producers to leave the U.S. and produce in places that are perhaps better structured for profitability. This has been going on, as I also covered on my Monday morning show on Newsmax. This has been going on since the 50s, right? You remember the spaghetti westerns, as we used to call them? We called them that because these were Western films that were, designed to essentially demonstrate the great Wild West, John Wayne, this, that, and the other thing. None of them were made in America. They were made in Italy. That's why they're called spaghetti westerns. Why? Because they were cheaper to make there. So interesting to see how this plays out. I will say this, though. As compared to, as we were talking about a minute ago with the other couple stocks that have run up so big, not wanting to try to chase rallies, I'm a Netflix bull. They have a moat that has been quarter after quarter shown to be fairly impenetrable. They are the undisputed leader in the streaming world. Disney, the others have just not been able to catch up. I don't see them catching up. If we see continued selling pressure in this name, notwithstanding our friend, and we don't exactly go drinking beers with him on Fridays, folks, full disclosure, Elon Musk telling folks to perhaps turn a blind eye or raise their nose at Netflix, I don't think that this is going to have a material impact on their business. I might actually look to pick some of this up if selling pressure continues.
It's down about $200 since the June 30th high,
Yeah,
1,300 and something. So you are getting a little bit of that opportunity right now, folks, like Mark's saying. So again, another candidate, though, for options in particular, because not too many of us are buying $1,100 stocks, just 1,000 shares of which puts you up over $1 million. So
no doubt. And you know what, John? I'm going to make a bold prediction right here. I'm going to predict that they beat their next earnings report. They're going to beat the street's estimates. We'll see if I turn out to be right.
All right. Well, let's take a look, Mark, at a video as we go into what's usually known as Pete's Red Zone Sports. And today it's this young man, Drake May, and he was the #1 draft pick of the New England Patriots. And very quickly, he has established himself as one of the top quarterbacks in all of pro football. Give this one a listen, folks.
May is a top 10 quarterback. There is no conversation to be had about this. After the beatdown of the Panthers, Drake May is now first in completion percentage at 74%, fourth in yards at 988 yards, 4th in passer rating, 109.4. That's not even the crazy part. He has had a 75% completion percentage, 2 or more touchdown passes in 3 straight games. The only quarterback in front of him right now is Tom Brady's 4-game streak in 2007. Drake May's currently tied with
when you're in Tom Brady territory, as far as, you know, 2 touchdown games,
Manning in
he's done 3 of
2004,
them,
and Kurt Warner in
could do
2001.
4 perhaps.
That is some elite company. His EPA in the NFL is currently 3rd at 39.55. And not only has Drake May been great throughout the games, he has been money the best on 3rd and 4th down. May has the highest
and 3rd and 4th
completion
down, as you know,
percentage
Mark,
at
that's kind of where we
the
would
most
say,
passing
okay,
yards
that
at
shows me that
289,
the
the
quarterback
most yards per
is not
attempt
only
at
a leader,
9.6,
but he's
the
good
second
under
most
pressure.
touchdowns at 2,
Because
behind
those are
Jared
pressure
Goff, and his
plays,
passer rating at
especially 4th down.
126.6
But
is second behind
3rd down,
Lamar Jackson. Look,
4th
at the end
down's
of the
never
day,
really
you can
pressure for the Lions
but
because they always just
keep
go
alive,
for it. They don't punt.
numbers tell
But
us. Drake
this
May
kid is
has
good.
arrived.
This kid
He
is
a
good,
top
and
10 quarterback,
I think
no matter
New
what
England
he says.
made a very wise choice when they picked him up, Mark. Now, as far as I wanted to ask Mr. LoPresti whether or not he thought it might be an all East Coast Super Bowl, because the 2 best teams in football right now, in many opinions, including mine, are the Eagles and the Bills. And the Eagles, of course, met the Chiefs last year and blew them out. I don't think they'd blow out the Bills, but that is shaping up to be a Super Bowl matchup, Mark. Who would you take of those 2 teams, the Eagles in the NFC or the Bills in the AFC?
You know, I mean, I have a question for you, by the way. Is it not too early in the season to be making these kind of predictions? I
It's
mean,
a little early,
I'm just,
okay.
so, you know, sure, I'll take the Eagles.
Okay, so you're a NFC East guy.
But no, John, I am data dependent when it comes to how I think the outcome of the NFL season will be, and I just don't have enough data yet to give a reasoned analysis.
So you're like our Fed chair, data dependent.
By the way,
folks,
John, but before we move off of football, I do want to mention to you, folks, if you are watching Jets Cowboys on Sunday,
yep.
Take a look at the opening ceremonies. You may just see me and my beautiful daughter Elsa helping carry the American flag out onto the field. We're going to be privileged to be there and on the sidelines with the coaches and the team on Sunday's game. Jets Cowboys, it's going to be a heck of a lot of fun. And I'll be, of course, reporting from Monday's Rebels Edge, getting myself absolutely immersed on the field and ready to give some really great insight that you can only get from being down there.
That's a fact. Well, yeah, absolutely. And make sure Elsa's doing some videos of you, Mark, as well as some stills, because even though, of course, Elsa might be a little easier on the eyes than that guy, nonetheless, it'd be pretty cool if we had any videos from you and Elsa. Maybe you get somebody else, or maybe you just use your selfie arm to get it out there and get some of that. Well, we've got one more category, Mark. We've got the Dodgers who clinched and the Yankees who extended because they were on the verge of elimination, believe it or not.
Yeah.
So Dodgers against, the Cincinnati Reds, and Mark and I both know one of the significant owners of the Reds, folks. And the fact that these guys were able to get in there and stand toe to toe with, I think, the best team in all of baseball, the Dodgers, even though it was a sweep, they were nonetheless so proud to be there, Mark. I think you should give our friend a call and see what he thinks.
Yeah, I agree, John. But I mean, for me, the big news from yesterday was, of course, our local New Jersey hometown hero, former minor league player for the Patriots, here New Jersey Somerset Patriots. Fantastic minor league team, farm team for the Yankees. Young Ben Rice, who did something that had not been accomplished by a New York Yankees player in over 27 years. He scored a home run in his first postseason at bat. That was a big deal when that happened. Speaking of my daughter, she was actually there at the game, amazing seats, watching this happen. And she and I had watched Ben play as he was coming up in the Somerset Patriots. So that was a big deal. Congratulations to him and to the Yankees. It's going to be very interesting to see how the postseason ends for Major League Baseball.
Yeah, well, the fact that the Yankees forced Game 3 against the dreaded Red Sox, that was pretty special. And then, of course, we've got the Cubs, Guardians, and so forth. But I think most of us are really looking at this as the National League. The Dodgers really look like the team to beat there. And obviously, running through the Cincinnati Reds and sweeping them means they get to rest up a little too. All right. Well, Marc, thank you again for doing a great job on the Rebel's Edge, as you always do.
Thanks, sir.
I hope all of you folks remember that we will be back on Monday with another Rebel's Edge at 1 p.m. And if you remember, you should be registering for a free webinar tonight, because Marc and I, along with Ryan Mastro and Wayne Razzie, will be on presenting diagonal spreads, something that a lot of us that have been trading for a long time, that we do all the time. You get to attend for free, but you do have to register. So you got to go to marketrebellion.com/register. And then you not only get to attend live, but if you can't make it live, it's 4 p.m. tonight. If you can't make it live, you get to get a copy of it regardless, a video copy of it. We always do that. We don't charge you for it. That's all free. So if you want to see us tonight,
I bet producer Jared would even be able to drop a registration link at the bottom of the video. So if you're watching this on the replay on YouTube or watching it live, there will probably be a link. I know he's got the talent, he's got the technology. We can drop a link there in the bottom, so you can just click
and
that
apparently he
registration
has the
link.
mandate.
He's got the mandate. So join us at 4 p.m. Eastern time. And of course, folks, because John is too humble, do not forget, tune in to catch John and Pete and occasionally me or Justin Nugent on the Rebel's Edge Monday through Thursday. That's at 1 o'clock Eastern time. And John, I do have to say one last thing, because this is the first time I've had the ability to address everybody. Unbelievable and a huge thanks once again to all the Rebels that joined us live and virtually for our incredible 10X boot camp. That was just an unbelievable experience. So a huge thank you to the entire Rebel Nation for coming out and supporting and learning at that amazing event.
It was fantastic, folks. So make sure you avail yourself of the free one tonight, 4 p.m. Eastern, and we'll see you Monday. Bye.